Welcome to Rock Solid Productions, where in this episode we're going to show you how to install and how the Nincade wireless adapter works for the NES Classic Edition. Hey everyone, Gary here with Rock Solid Productions, and if you've seen my video that shows you how to hide your dongles for your Super NES Classic Edition, you know, one of the things that I like is the fact that that modification really maintains the aesthetic of the console. The thing is, you really can't hide the dongles inside the case on an NES Classic Edition, and it really kind of ruins the aesthetic of it. Well, Brook Accessories here have recently sent us the Nincade, and this is a wireless adapter designed for the NES Classic Edition, the Famicom Mini Classic Edition, the Super Famicom Classic Edition, and the Super NES Classic Edition. We're going to show you how it works here on the NES Classic Edition. We will have a tutorial coming up and linked down below when we have it produced, showing you how to do this on the Super NES Classic Edition. Basically what this allows you to do is use Bluetooth controllers wirelessly on your NES Classic Edition, and the main reason for using this modification is aesthetics. It maintains the look and the feel of the original console without having a dongle hang out. The cool thing about this setup too is it's compatible with a number of different controllers. So the 8-bit DOE controllers, this is the NES 30 that we're going to use for our initial testing. It will also work with Wii remotes. It will also work with the Wii U Pro gamepads. It'll work with PS4 controllers. There are a lot of different controllers that this will work with. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw our system on the bench right over there. We're gonna open it up, and I'm gonna walk you through the steps on how to do the installation. So looking at the Nincade itself, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Designed for the Famicom and NES Mini, also designed to work with the Super NES Classic Edition too. Everything is pretty self-explanatory on here. Again, they call it the Famicom Mini Edition, the Super Famicom Mini Edition, NES Mini, and Super NES Mini Edition. And it'll work with Wii remotes, PS4, or the Switch Pro controllers, which is pretty neat. I gotta just say, I love the graphics that they have on here that, you know, inspired by Mario and Mega Man and Galaga, Pac-Man with the ghosts and everything. And inside here you do have a small Phillips head screwdriver right here. This is the connector we'll use in a little bit. Comes with some double-sided tape. You may hear me call this servo tape. That's actually just something from the RC industry. We call that servo tape. Some Brook decals. The board itself that we'll be installing here, along with your instruction manual. And one thing of note on here is one side will walk you through installing it into the NES Classic Edition. And there's different languages, as you can see here. And then on the other side, Famicom Classic Edition. So we're going to follow the installation guide right here. So the first step is that there are 4 screws on the underside of the system underneath these rubber feet. We need to pull these feet out and undo the screws. For the sake of time, I'm actually going to speed this up. And while they do provide their own screwdriver, I'm actually going to use my E-Flight number 0 Phillips head screwdriver. I have to admit, I've actually never opened up my NES Classic Edition. And with those removed, I will open this up. Pretty simple there. Step 2 says pull out the red-black cable from the NES. Well, there are 2, so let's make sure that we have everything orientated the right way. Now, I did actually have to redo part of this assembly. I got confused reading the manual, so that's why you notice the camera angle and everything has changed a little bit here. So looking at the manual, the way that I had originally interpreted it was that this was the front and that was the side. So that basically it'd be sitting like this. That would be the part that I have to unplug. I was actually incorrect. It's actually sitting like that. So what it's telling you to do is unplug your port there, which is player 1, which we will do right here. Now, one other thing too is it does come with some really nice 3M double-sided tape. I have it on here. Make sure that you take a few moments and clean off the area. Now, before you apply anything, what you may want to do is take some alcohol or some cleaner. I'll use some Dynamite Magnum Force here and just clean this up. You can also heat up the double-sided tape to make sure that it adheres well. If you want some tips and tricks with double-sided tape, make sure you check out that video up there in the upper right-hand corner. That'll kind of help walk you through what you can do to help make everything stick a little bit better when using double-sided tape. And I don't know if you can make that out, but there is a little bit of dirt that that this did clean off. Basically, dirt will help prevent, dirt and oil really helps prevent the double-sided tape from adhering properly. And be gentle when you are unplugging this here. You don't want to break that. All right, and now at this point, we're going to plug our jumper in to the front of the control board here. And one thing you want to note is there are tabs basically on the connector that will only allow it to plug in one way. So now on here, it's actually labeled gamepad and console. So I need to plug the console side in here. And again, make sure that I have the directions going the right way. Have the plug going in the right direction. Now at this point, I can plug the console in here. Same basic thing. It's got to line up with the correct polarity. Looks like the tabs go up on the top. And now at this point, I'm going to route it with the connectors and everything coming off on that side there. Now this would be how I would do it for player 1. Now I've got room here too. I could use another one of these boards and put it over here for player 2 off of that side. So before you go ahead and seal this up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pair this to my new controller. Now to do that, I'm going to actually use the controller that came out of my Super NES Classic Edition because you need a physical connection here. Now one other thing of note before you seal everything up, there's a micro USB port right here. That is for applying any kind of firmware updates to the board. You may want to head to Brook's website, I'll have a link down below, to put the latest firmware update in before you seal everything up. That way you are locked and loaded. And then finally, the controller that I'm going to use for starters is going to be the 8BitDo NES 30 controller, just because I want to use the NES style controller with this. So I've got my power cord. We're going to plug it in. Plug in my controller here. And what you do, you power on the console. Now, I don't have it hooked up to a TV right now, obviously, but for this process, I really don't need it. Wait a few seconds, and then all that you do is you type in the old Konami code. So up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, BA, start. There you can hear. Now it's that beeping is letting you know you are in pairing mode. You may have to hit a combination of start and A or start and Y to pair it properly. There you see I have a solid blue light. I'm going to seal everything up. You can watch me do that. And we are going to test it out on the TV real quick. Now one thing of note before you start screwing on this at all again, make sure you have it disconnected from power like I have it here. Be very careful when you are putting it back together that you don't have any wires or anything that you are pinching down in here. Now if you want to make sure that you don't strip out the screw holes as you're putting the screws in, actually unscrew it slightly. You'll feel it kind of click into place and then start screwing it down. That's always a great way anytime you are threading into plastic or composite to start screwing threads, and that way you make sure that you don't strip out what you're screwing into. We're powered on, we've got everything ready to rock and roll, so let's play some NES games here on the NES Classic. Let's go to Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. what I'm kind of testing for here is to see, any kind of lag, any latency, any delay, any issues along those lines with the controller. And there's a couple of games we're going to fire up in here just to kind of see how it is. Now, kind of the telltale part for me on here is going to be in just a moment the section with the bats, the next level up. So the first bat you can see on the right, got him. So far, so good. One more bat coming here. At least for Castlevania 3, feels okay. Now, one thing, if you ever do notice like any issues with your controller, make sure that you've got it fully charged. I mean, that's really a simple fix to what could cause quite a few problems. So there's Castlevania 3. Let's see, down and select should take me to the home screen. And it does. Let's try Contra. Now this is where, for me, if there's going to be any lag getting over the bridges, will be one of the spots where I would notice it first and foremost. One thing that you will want to do as well, though, is make sure that you do have the latest firmware on both your controller and the Nincade itself. That's pretty simple and straightforward to do. The Nincade itself has just that micro USB port that I showed you on the side. That was weird the way the D-pad was reacting there. And then 8-bit DOE, sometimes they kind of, hide the legacy. Let's try that one more time. Some of their legacy controllers, they hide the, not hide, but they archive, let's say, the firmware updates. So you may have to go into the older discontinued products to be able to find the firmware for whatever controller you may have. I was able to get across the first bridge. Again, no problem there this time either. Button presses feel okay, but I feel like the D-pad may be a little bit see, like there I went to crouch down and it actually changed the direction I was looking. There again, crouch down and it turned me around to look to the left. It's kind of odd. And there I went to jump and it didn't respond. I half wonder if it's not more the controller than the Nincade itself. And I've actually got a pretty easy way we're gonna test it out here. So there's Contra. What I'm going to do, I actually have my Wii Remote here, my Mario Edition Wii Remote, and this actually has the Motion Plus on it. We're going to pair this to our NES Classic Edition and see how this works. So I actually just let the Contra demo go while I was getting everything set up and paired. You can see it's set up as player one right now. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do that is now if I press the home key, it should take me back to the home screen. So that's one of the cool things about using a Wii Remote. Let's go to, what's a good one? You know what, Punch-Out is always a great one to test lag and latency, so we'll test that out real quick here. Now, one thing of note is I have tried like the MEO kind of NES Advantage lookalike controller. This guy right here does not work using the wireless adapter, but I can always just plug it straight into my NES Classic Edition if I really wanted to use this. So far, so good. Nothing any worse, I'd say, than the stock wired controller. Sitting Glass Joe down. Pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. No issues whatsoever so far, which is a good sign. Now I know I had tried the NES 30 8-bit DOE controller on Punch-Out earlier, and I actually did have some issues with the lag and everything, and this seems to not have an issue with that. Glass Joe is down, and again, now I wonder if I can press down and select. Funny, so because I have this hacked with Hack-Chi, down and select does work. I'm gonna try it one last one before we wrap things up, and we're gonna go give you a sneak peek at Holy Diver. And the cool thing about this is the fact that if you do have any of the clone consoles that are out there, there is a physical release coming of Holy Diver to CastlemaniaGames.com. They're still available at the time of this recording for pre-order. They have not started shipping yet. Pretty hard too, but awesome. You know, the graphics and everything are really great. It came out late in the life, not of the, well, technically you could say it came out after the life of the NES, but came out late in the life cycle of the Famicom over in Japan. You got that baddie there, grab the amulet or whatever that was. Pretty solid, I would say. At least playing through right now, I have to say that from a responsiveness standpoint, it does feel better with the Wii Remote than with the NES 30 controller, so that's something to keep in mind. In addition, what you can also do is you can use PlayStation 4 controllers with this too. So there you have it, how to install in our review of the Nincade wireless adapter from Brook Accessories. And I'll have to say, when I was using the Wii Remote, the controls were spot on. When I was using the 8-bit Do controllers, yeah, not quite so much, which really surprised me. The Wii Remote felt very locked in, and I still have more testing to do with other controllers. I have PS3 controllers I want to try out. I do want to try out the Wii U Pro controller and see if that works, because I want to see, I have this system hacked with HackG. I want to see if I can use N64 games and have it work. So let me know if you do have any questions on this down in the comments below. And if you have any other further questions, feel free to email me, just like the folks at Brook Accessory did, at rocksolidmail@gmail.com if you do have any questions, or if you'd also like to submit any product for us to review here on the channel. Like I mentioned in the open, we will be doing another video showing you how to do this exact same mod on a Super NES Classic Edition. You can also send us any questions that you might have over on our Twitter handle at Rock Solid Studios. You can also hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/RockSolidProductions. And finally, if you do want to go ahead and help support the channel, you can do so for as little as $1 a month by visiting us on our Patreon page, patreon.com/RockSolid, and it gets you early access to all of our videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe on this video too. That way you are kept up to date anytime that we do come out with new tips, tricks, tutorials, and reviews. I am Gary. This is Rock Solid Productions with the Nincade wireless adapter from Brook Accessory. Again, thanks to them for sending it in for review. Overall, a pretty solid, pretty easy modification to make to your NES Classic Edition, and something I really like. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.